In early 2025, President Donald Trump shocked the world by slapping steep tariffs on Canadian goods, 50% on steel and aluminum, 25% on many imports, and even a 10% levy on Canadian energy. He accused Canada of betrayal, straining a century-old partnership built on deep economic ties. The news hit Canada hard. Businesses panicked, workers worried, and leaders scrambled to respond. Why target Canada, America's closest ally? The US was also targeting Mexico, China, and the EU, but the measures against Canada felt especially harsh. With 76% of Canadian exports heading to the US, the country was uniquely vulnerable. The steel, aluminum, and energy sectors braced for impact. Fears of job losses and economic slowdown spread quickly. The path forward was suddenly uncertain. The stakes were enormous, over $1 trillion in annual trade and millions of livelihoods on both sides of the border. Canada faced a daunting question: how to respond to an economic threat from its closest friend. The world watched as the crisis unfolded. Many expected Canada to retaliate immediately, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau chose a different path. Instead of escalating, Trudeau emphasized the deep US-Canada friendship and called the tariffs unfair, but stayed calm and firm. Canada's approach: strategic calm. No knee-jerk reactions, just careful analysis and planning. Behind the scenes, officials worked around the clock, studying the impact and crafting a targeted response. Their goal hit back where it would hurt the US most, especially in politically sensitive regions. Canada's message was clear: principled, measured, and open to dialogue, but ready to defend its interests. The world took note of Canada's restraint and resolve. The stage was set for a silent strategic strike. Canada's response was a masterclass in precision. Instead of broad retaliation, Canada imposed counter-tariffs on $90 billion worth of US goods. The targets? Iconic products from key Republican states: Kentucky bourbon, Florida orange juice, Pennsylvania steel. Even US-made vehicles faced new taxes, all timed for maximum political impact. The strategy created pressure on President Trump from his own supporters. Canada's silent strike was surgical, minimizing harm to itself while maximizing discomfort for the US. International observers were impressed by the calculated, targeted approach. Canada wasn't just reacting, it was outmaneuvering its larger neighbor. The message: Canada would defend itself smartly, not recklessly. The trade chess match had begun. The tariff stung. Canada's trade deficit hit a record high, exports to the US plunged, and key industries suffered. The auto sector was hit hard, with real consequences for workers and businesses. But the pain wasn't one-sided. US manufacturers faced higher costs for Canadian steel and aluminum, making their products less competitive. American farmers lost access to Canadian markets, fueling anger in rural states. Pressure mounted in the US. Industry groups, farmers, and even some Republicans demanded an end to the tariffs. The US economy slowed, the dollar weakened, and stock markets grew volatile. The boomerang effect of Canada's targeted response was undeniable. Both economies felt the strain, but political pressure in the US was building fast. The cost of the trade war was becoming too high to ignore. Canada's calm, targeted strategy paid off. As US businesses and farmers grew louder in their opposition, President Trump faced mounting pressure, even from his own party. The administration reversed the tariffs on Canadian goods, ending the standoff. Canada's strategic calm and pinpoint countermeasures were hailed as a masterclass in economic statecraft. The episode proved that smart, principled action can outmaneuver aggression, even from a much larger power. Canada's silent strike became a global example of how to win a trade war without firing a shot. Sometimes the strongest response is calm, calculated resolve.